So in my experience, I have given multiple interviews in companies, and also I have taken multiple interviews as well. So in this video, I will lay out some tips and tricks for you to use in your next interview that will be helpful to you. So the number one tip that I have is being respectful, and that is the most important tip I can give you at this point. So when you arrive at the company, slap the words please, sir, madam, and thank you all across your face. Any sentence that you say, you should be respectful towards anyone you meet at the company. When you arrive at the company and you meet anybody who works there, always be respectful towards them and greet them good morning or good evening, depending on the situation, and ask questions respectfully. This is very important given that this is the first impression that you are leaving in the minds of anybody who works at the company, and that's how they will remember you. You being respectful towards them makes sure that you leave a good impression in their heads, which can become a factor in you getting selected. Now, expanding on this being respectful tip, when somebody enters the room that you're sitting in for the interview, always be sure to stand up and greet them. This also helps in leaving a good impression on them, even though they are not directly related to your interview and the selection process. Making an impression in the employees of the company where you can potentially work plays out so much well in your career. The second tip that I have is working on your body language. And this is also very important. If you're sitting in the interview room right in front of the interviewer and you're sitting with your shoulders like this, and your body language clearly says that you're scared or nervous about the interview, this can play a part in you getting selected. Always be sure to sit with a straight back and wide shoulders and show the interviewer that you are confident about the interview. Working on your body language can play a major part in you getting selected as well. I have taken so many interviews where clearly the candidates that I can even feel are scared or nervous, and they don't leave a good impression on me even though they are good for the job. So showing some confidence, and I do mean some confidence, don't be overconfident by the way. Having a good body posture can help a lot in your selection process because it shows the interviewer that you are confident and you aren't nervous or anything like that. I have taken so many interviews where the candidates are clearly nervous and everything, so they don't leave a good impression in my mind, even though they have passed the technical assessment rounds. The next tip that I want to share with you is you don't have to answer the questions straight away. This is where a lot of candidates struggle, where an interviewer asks a question and the candidates feel like they have to answer the question right away. But that's not true. You can actually let the interviewer know that you need some time to think, and you can make your words in your head and pass out the sentence that you are actually about to speak. Which leads me into my next tip. Don't try to say too many things about a question that is asked to you. Always try to be concise. Always try to get to the point straight away and only give out information that is relevant to the question. Speaking too much about something that has been asked to you lets the interviewer know that you don't really feel confident about answering the question. Just like how I'm doing with this tip, I'm telling you exactly what you need to do. Don't try to ramble around with too many words, throwing them at the interviewer thinking that they will think that you know too much about the topic. It actually works the reverse way. The more you speak about something, the more the interviewer feels like you don't know anything about that topic. The next tip that I have to share with you is don't feel like you always have to answer the question. If at the moment you forget about something and you are not able to answer a question, you can let the interviewer know straight away that at the moment I cannot think about the solution of this problem. So I really apologize for that. Don't sit around for too long thinking and then saying the wrong thing, because it really leaves a negative impression on the interviewer that this guy is just trying to answer anything with any words possible. Also, never assume that somebody is just Googling questions and throwing them at you, expecting to hear an answer. Even if they don't know what exactly they're asking you, they do expect the answers to be a certain way. And you just saying the wrong things just to fill up the gap of you wanting to speak something can really hurt your chances of getting selected. So if you at the moment cannot think of the answer straight away, or you're struggling with the answer, or you just happen to forget that answer, let the interviewer know. It's fine. We can just move on to the next topic immediately. A format that I have found helpful when answering technical questions is one sentence about what the topic is, another sentence about how we can use it, and third line would be how I used it in a previous project before. So let's say that somebody asked me what is rate limiting. So the first line in the answer would be what is rate limiting in just one sentence. It's the act of limiting the amount of request we can hit on an API. So the second sentence would be how to use it, at which point I can say that in Node.js, we use blah and blah library to implement this. And the third sentence would be how I used it in a previous project before. So I can just bring up in my college project, in case you are a fresher, or in case that you are experienced, you can bring up a moment where you used it in your previous projects that you worked for in a company. Keeping your answers short and concise lets the interviewer know that you are confident about the topic that you are talking about. The next step that I have for you is asking for clarifications. At any point in the interview, if you feel like you did not understand the question well, or you need more information about the question, feel free to ask that to the interviewer. Normally what happens is somebody assumes a scenario or a condition in the problem, and they just try to ramble about everything and see if anything sticks. You don't want to be doing that, because the interviewer can easily assess that this guy doesn't understand the question and is speaking anything that he has to. So in which case, there is no shame in telling the interviewer or letting the interviewer know that you need more information about the question to answer it effectively. So at this point, I would like to tell you about mock interviews and how they can be really helpful. So if you are in college, if you are prepping for an interview, try to get somebody to do a mock interview with you and see how you perform in it. Normally, we have answers in our heads ready to be delivered when somebody would ask the question. But at the time of speaking, sometimes we do feel a road bump and we find ourselves completely frozen. You can detect that how I'm speaking right now. So even though we have the answers ready in our heads to be given, sometimes speaking is an art that needs to be practiced. So try to do as many mock interviews as possible. So try to get a friend who can do mock interviews with you, or anyone who can ask questions to you. Because when you are put in the position of telling somebody what you have in your head, that's when you get put to the test on how effectively you can communicate with anyone. So mock interviews are really helpful in preparation of you actually going to the interview and giving the interview. So try to do that. So the next step that I have for you is reading the job description. You do not want to show up at the interview not knowing what the job requirement is about. So even if you are giving multiple interviews, that's absolutely fine. But just make sure to read the memo and find out what the job requirement is about before you step into the interview room. Because the HR personnel can easily tell if you have an idea of what you are trying to do here. And the last step that I have for you is ask questions. And I do mean ask questions, even if you don't have any. Just ask the interviewer at the end of the interview when they ask you if you have any questions. Just ask them what they liked about your resume. Or just ask the interviewer if there is anything that you should be prepared for before you join. This leaves the interviewer with a good impression that you are interested in the company as much as the company is interested in you. It shows the company that you are eager to join the company, and that can really help with your chances of getting selected. And the final tip that I have for you is don't let the interview hit your confidence. If in case you get rejected from an interview, don't let that be a factor in your next interview. Getting rejected from an interview takes a massive hit on your confidence. And so many people like myself tend to underball ourselves, and we think that we don't belong here or a good salary. So no matter how many rejections you have faced in your interviews, never let them be a factor in your further ones. Always walk into a new interview like it's the first interview you have ever given, and use the experience that you have gained in your previous interviews and use them to your advantage. Okay, so this is it for the video. I'm going to make a video about what not to do in an interview. It needs a little bit more time for scripting, so I would ask you to hold out just for a bit longer. That video will be out soon. And thank you to my patrons and members. Because of you guys, I can still make videos and be on YouTube and justify my presence here. And I live stream every Sunday 12 afternoon. So if you're around that time, make sure that you join in and say hi. I always appreciate you guys' presence in my live streams. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.